Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Banchero Show, only on YouTube. I'm your host, and yes, still a major league piece of work, Banchero. Unfortunately, I had to do a retake here on 2014 Part 1. I didn't realize how much the wind was going to play an effect in the noise in the background. You couldn't really hear me, so you're not crazy if you're watching this a second time. This is a retake, and it is a different park. So anyway, I hope you all had a great Mother's Day weekend. The last part of the timeline, we were finishing out 2013. We're getting into 2014. And man, I've been having a great couple weeks to a month here, turning 40 years old and running into some old friends and hanging out with some old friends. And life's been pretty good to me, you know. I got a message on Facebook Messenger from Marcel Cafarata about a month ago, and he was telling me he's turned the Banchero Show on to some of his co-workers, and he was giving me some praise on the show, and he said he was thoroughly entertained by it also. But I also got to run into great Nick Torito at the Giants game a couple weeks ago. He was working that night, and I was surprised he even spotted me. I was wearing my DTM garb with my big black faux fur, some sunglasses, and a Giants beanie pulled over my head, and he still was able to recognize me. And I was glad he did. We got to chat with him. I haven't seen him in a long time. So he also gave me some props on the show, and I want to thank him for that. Yeah, so my sincere apologies to my friends who had a pool going all these years on whether or not I was going to make it to the age of 40. I know some of you lost your wagers, and several people thought that I was going to die sooner than that. So too bad for you. Too bad, so sad. But I did it through higher awareness and some character change and the grace of God of my understanding. So let's get back to the timeline here. So 2013 finished with me in a hospital bed at Peninsula Hospital. I woke up, I didn't know how I got there. I was heading up to a gig on New Year's Eve to go work in San Francisco, and I apparently blacked out and passed out at the Samtrans bus stop at the BART station in Millbrae. And I was unconscious, apparently. So that's how 2013 ended for me. And beginning of 2014, I was living in with this girl that I moved in with. I wasn't 100% in the relationship for her. Part of it was for me to get closer to Stella. She lived in San Mateo with her mom. And I had an opportunity to move out and get out of the rehab situation and the clean and sober house situation. I didn't have a car at the time due to my numerous DUIs. So this girl, being the codependent that she was, wanted to help out. She didn't realize what she was getting herself into, and I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing as far as the solution to my alcohol problem and dealing with life. So everybody paid the price. So I started the year off trying to get out of there. There's too many alcoholic episodes. She had some bad relationships in the past, like I had mentioned in the previous episode. So she was doing these things where she felt like she had to call the police, and you know, I was full of resentment and fear. She was full of fear, and she had some very unhealthy habits combined with my alcoholism, and she wasn't my sexual ideal. So I had to get real about the situation and get out, and she wanted me out, and it was time to get going on that. You know, there's a book called A New Pair of Glasses by the great Chuck C. And there's a chapter called The Problem, and Chuck C defines me by telling his story. On page 21, he says he had a twofold admission of defeat. He lost the battle of life, number one, and he was nuts, number two. And that was me perfectly defined. On page 25, he continues on in the chapter. He says, the purpose is to rid us of the obsessions of the mind that cause us to drink. So I was still obsessed on this bad co-parenting situation I had. I was obsessed about how I was being wronged. I was getting screwed. I could not focus, and all the attention was on the other party involved. And some might say rightfully so. However, when you've been exposed to a solution for as many years as I had, I don't get any more passes, like I've said in many other episodes. I had to focus on changing my character and be able to handle people like the people I was dealing with. So, couldn't stop drinking again. I mean, I'd stop periodically. I'd drink for a couple days and stop, but I was still absolutely miserable. I was obsessed. I was distracted. I could not be a good human being. So I remember I had gone on an alcoholic run, and I was fumbling down 4th Avenue in San Mateo, and my good friend Danny DeFilippis happened to be turning the corner on 4th and I believe Ellsworth, and he spotted me and he pulled over and he asked me how I was going. And I told him I was worse than ever. You know, I told him, I gave a little brief rundown of, you know, hanging out with the crack hookers on Christmas in San Francisco, and sleeping on the buses and the BARTs and all this stuff. And I told him about all these different scenarios, and you know, he had somewhere he had to be. He agreed to chat with me later. So I got a call from my friend Jackie a couple days later, and she had heard about this from Danny apparently, or some other people through the grapevine, and she heard about the crack hookers, and she was pretty upset with me. And you know, I explained her the situation, and she agreed to help me as long as I was willing to be sincere. And yeah, she'd heard from another friend that I showed up at her job, and I was spilling my guts about how I felt and all these years, and everything was just getting really embarrassing, and everybody had a lot of concern for me. But Jackie again agreed to help me if I was serious. I remember I was loaded one day, and I called her, and she said, "Where are you at?" And I was at the San Mateo Library on 4th Avenue, sorry, 3rd Avenue in San Mateo. And she met me there, and I just felt so pathetic. I'm sitting in the sofa chair, and she's standing over me, and I just saw the look of the upset look on her face, and so she wanted help, you know. And so my plan had been to get back into the Salvation Army because I had nowhere to go, and I was desperate, and I didn't really have any other solutions in front of my face at the time. So Jackie had arranged a visit this one weekend with my daughter's mom for me to see Stella. So Jackie drove down from San Francisco. We met downtown San Mateo, and she brought her dog Scarlet. And Stella was really all into Scarlet, and she loves animals, and she was petting her and talking. And so I had a little hostile conversation with my daughter's mother for a few minutes, and yes, she was being unreasonable. Yes, there's still some very untrue things going through her head, but I was unwilling to accept it, and I was making things worse. So it was a hostile conversation. Anyway, me and Jackie took Stella out to lunch over at this place called Hummus Mediterranean Restaurant on 4th Avenue. And I was so just shook up and upset. I remember, so you've heard me talk about desperation. Sorry, desperation breeds creativity, right? So being the sick, twisted, deceitful alcoholic that I could be, we were sitting down having lunch, and there's a back door to go to the restroom, okay? So I would go to the back door, and I'd go use the restroom. What Jackie didn't realize is that the back door also connects to Pizza My Heart next door. So I'd go through the back door, go to Pizza My Heart, I'd order up a pint, I'd slam down a pint, and everybody who knows me over the years and my drinking knows that a pint of any kind of beer goes down in about 2 seconds. So I pay for the beer, slam it down, go to the bathroom, come back through the back door of the hummus restaurant, come back and sit down. And I believe I made 2 or 3 trips from what I recall. And so this is the sick, this is the Eddie Lynx thing that we talk about. I was willing to do all these crazy ass things and go through all these things that would seem like outrageous to the normal person. But when you're an alcoholic and you're so upset, and this is your solution to your problems, so you don't have to think about these things, this is the kind of stuff we do. So we took Stella over to the park with the dog, and we played for a little bit longer. And Jackie and I went over to this chick's house that I was seeing and living with for a little bit over a month, and we made arrangements to go get my belongings out of her place. I was to stay at Jackie's house for a day or so before I got into the Salvation Army. This is my plan. Okay, so what happens was we go to a group in San Mateo called Sundowners, and there's a guy that I knew that spoke there. His name is PG&E Dave. So Jackie had felt the love and support that I had, because when we walked in the room, I started introducing her to all these different people that I knew from the meeting. And yes, some of them were acquaintances, some of them were friends, but she knew that I had a support group. So I think that kind of reassured her. But after this guy spoke, I had chimed in at the end of the group, and I had spoken up about my situation. I remember me and Jackie took off, we got in her car, and she was kind of like skeptical, and she didn't feel like I was being sincere about trying to get sober again, based on whatever I had said. And part of it was probably because of the condition I was in. She didn't know that I was sneaking drinks, prior to the group that we went to. So we went over to this girl Julie's house, and we went to go get my stuff, and she's talking with her, and I'm just so hostile and just upset, about the conversation I had with my daughter's mother and just everything going on. I didn't want to go back to rehab, but I knew I had to do something because my life's on the line at this point. And so, being the drinker that this woman was, I would go into the kitchen when they were talking, and I'd go and I'd pour a couple glasses of, small glasses of wine. I put them down, and I'd sneak back out. And then the alcoholism kicked in real bad. So now I've used rubbing alcohol to clean my wounds, or maybe touch up some acne and kill the acne on my face. So I would go in to the kitchen, I'd get a cup, and I'd fill it up like halfway full of orange juice, right? And I'd go into the bathroom, and I'd go into the medicine cabinet, and I'd fill up the rest with the rubbing alcohol. So here I'm making rubbing alcohol screwdriver cocktails in the bathroom. I'm pounding these things, right? So I had about 2 or 3 of them before I do recall. So this shit will just tear you up on the inside. This is how sick and twisted alcoholism it gets for me. And it might get for you if you test the waters. So now I'm feeling a little bit better, but just the taste of the rubbing alcohol is not the same as like having a vodka screwdriver. Even Taka is 20 times better than rubbing alcohol. So we got the rest of the stuff. I got out of this codependent situation, and thank God I got out of there for all parties involved. Again, I had an episode about relationships and honesty a few months ago, and this is one of the experiences that I've had that was a learning lesson for me, because if I don't have pure and honest motives with any woman, I'm going to receive pure and honest and unpure and dishonest things in return, and it's not going to be a good relationship, and it's going to be like living in something false, and I don't want to attract that in my life anymore. Okay, so the Oxford group, it's like a Christian group from way back when. They have a pamphlet on their beliefs, right? So a few months ago I printed out what is the Oxford group. It's a pamphlet. So on page 46, about as far as honesty is concerned, so there's a section in the Oxford group, what is the Oxford group, that says the 4 absolutes, right? So one of them is absolute honesty. It's the first one, actually. So on page 46 of this pamphlet, he says, to ourselves the absolute truth, to others as truthful as we are to ourselves. Can we do it? Can we sit down even for a few moments and face the self the world does not see and tell that self the absolute truth? Then, having told that hidden self about the truth, can we be honest and let that truth become a conscious part of ourselves? How many of us can do that? I got to expose the truth to people and let them know where I'm coming from in all situations. I can't afford to have a double life. So it continues on. We must be absolutely honest with ourselves before we can absolutely be honest about other people. It is one of the essentials of Christian life. Honesty and morals is an essential to real happiness which has no fear of the present or future. How can any husband or wife live in perfect understanding if either has a secret which, should it come to light from an outside source, still wreck their partnership? So I was really in this relationship to be closer to my daughter. Yes, I was giving this woman a chance because I wanted to get to know her a little better. Yes, we jumped into this relationship a little bit too soon with the whole moving in thing. If real, unshakable love exists between two people, which it didn't, whatever the fault that one may confess to the other, it will sink into insignificance or take its proper place between them if honesty is made as a tribute to that love. So, if there are some dishonest motives in a relationship, it's always great to discuss them, get honest, and to move forward with the relationship if it can be mended. That wasn't being done here. A sin which comes to light from an outside source often destroys the union of two people. The sin is my dishonesty. I wanted my daughter. I didn't really care about this woman. Reluctance to be honest about our faults, mistakes, or sins with a person are united to by love is lack of faith, not only in that person, but also in the reality of that love. A love which dies because one confesses with honest motives a sin to the other is not worth having, And any love which can embrace mutual honesty is very near to the ideal which God had for men and women. He ordained marriage. When he had ordained marriage. Okay. The natural wealth of the other world is neither ours nor theirs. It is God's. We are all stewards to God for his prosperity by his permission. That is a fact no Christian can refute. As that it is so, we should be so ridiculous as to think we can prosper to any real happiness if we use dishonest methods to gain undue possession of the wealth, which at its source is absolute honesty. The popular belief is that honesty cannot go hand in hand with business, but it can. Finally, absolute honesty in business means being our level, our playing of the game of business is as cleanly as we should play any other game. This is personal business in this case. We blackball a man from decent society when he cheats at cards, then how much more should decent society blackball a man who cheats the poor, robs defenseless widows and orphans by his ruthless methods to gain more and more wealth than he ever can make use of. Also, his methods of robbery can be within law. The business of world today must be cleaned up, and swiftly, if the devastating moral degeneration its tendencies are causing is caused to be checked before they have made a lasting, harmful impression on lives of millions. So the wealth I was seeking in this relationship/business relationship was, yeah, I was getting some free rent to get on my feet. The business and the wealth that I wanted was my daughter. I wanted to be closer to my daughter. I hadn't thoroughly investigated this woman out. We had only been dating for a couple of weeks before I agreed to this situation. She was looking for a man. She was looking to save me. That was her business. My business was shelter, a more comfortable situation, a more convenient ride to my daughter, a more domesticated type of home, and it didn't work. The motives were not truth. They're false. All right. So that's from the Oxford group. All right. So what happens next? We leave with my possessions. Okay. So we get to Jackie's house, unload some of my stuff. She had a long day. It was time for me to go to bed. She had work the next day, right? So I'm still, now I got the booze going in my system. So what happens is, I can't go to sleep. I'm like shaking. I'm nervous. So I go to the refrigerator when she was in bed, and I saw a bottle of wine. I start pounding the bottle of wine. So I hear her coming out, and I put the bottle back in there. She had heard me go in and out of the refrigerator. She went in, and she saw the bottle half empty, and she was so upset and just distraught. And she cocked back her arm, and she smacked me right across the face and slapped me silly, right? She goes, "We're going to the hospital." You know, so we had to go get some meds for me to calm down from St. Luke's. So she drove me over there, and we waited, and I got treated and got some meds, and she dropped me off at the drunk tank on Mission Street. So I stayed the night over there. I went to the Salvation Army the next morning when I got released, and they wouldn't let me back in because I had not been gone a full 90 days since I left without completing the program again. So they wouldn't let me back in a third time. I had to wait a full 90 days, so now I was really screwed. I had nowhere to go. So I go over to the liquor store, buy a couple more tall cans of Steel Reserve. I head over to Dolores Park, just feeling pathetic, and Jackie called me to see where I was at, and she had to take the day off of work because she didn't get any rest from the night before due to my selfishness, really. And Tony Drolapis, another good longtime friend, shows up. He's concerned, and I'm trying to explain to him that I want to just go back to AA meetings or something and get sober, sleep on the bus, and I'll take care of myself. And you know, people don't understand. A guy like me can be mistaken for a person with too much pride. The truth is that I was so tired of inconveniencing my friends and family and loved ones with my BS because I wasn't able to handle life on life's terms. I just wanted to stick it out and do things by myself. It wasn't because I had too much pride. I was tired of hurting other people because I didn't trust myself with my decision making. So Tony was totally against it, right? So he gets a hold of Danny, and I remember I was laying there on the lawn, and Tony and Jackie show up at Dolores Park, and I got these diarrhea skid marks in my pants and all this stuff. Yeah, because I was suffering from the explosive diarrhea with no wipes, and it's just an absolutely pathetic situation. And I don't know, I remember a couple days I was sleeping on the Sam Trans at night, and I just kept on drinking, and then finally Tony got a hold of Danny DeFilippis, and Danny let me move in with him for a few weeks. And I don't know, Danny took me in. I felt pathetic. I'm sleeping on this floor in his kid's room. I'm living with him and his girlfriend at the time, and I'm in the sleeping bag, and I'm just like, what the fuck happened now, you know? Feeling totally just sad, dude, you know? Now, there is great fortune and misfortune. So me and Danny hadn't hung out in a few years because, you know, life changes and things going on. So I remember we'd be playing cards, we're telling old stories, and we're just laughing our asses off, man. We're crying, and I started to vomit. I was laughing so hard. So he had stepped out of the room for a minute, and his girlfriend said, thanks for being here, because she hadn't seen him laugh like that ever, or in a long time, or whatever. So it was good. It was good to catch up. So again, with great misfortune comes fortune. With great misfortune comes good fortune. You know, it's one of those you know, the opposites you got to be aware of. But so some things happened. We ended up having to move up to San Bruno with the sister at the time, and you know, so now I'm feeling really good. So now I'm sleeping on the bottom bunk of his son's bed, and I'm 35 years old, and you know, he's taking me to work, and I'm doing cleanup jobs for him. He's taking me out to lunch at Jack in the Box, and this lasted for a couple of days. You know, we played cards with Tony and Craig and his brother-in-law Juan, and so within a couple of weeks, I was able to get a job at Macaroni Grill, and then the same day I got a call later on saying I found an apartment to move into with some clean and sober people that I knew from the past in San Bruno. So things got a little better pretty fast. I had to go through some hard times again, you know, and I don't want anybody to go through all this stuff. It's really bad. We did have a funny egg yolk incident, so we'd play for money and playing cards, and I remember I lost all my money again, and they would let me buy in again, but they would said if you lose all your chips again, you got to start drinking raw eggs. And we had put together 8 raw eggs in a pint glass, and I had to drink that. And that's a funny little memory. It's quite a disgusting scenario, and I was able to hold it down. So you figure a guy could drink rubbing alcohol, cologne, mouthwash, supernatural amounts of alcohol. 8 egg yolks weren't a big deal. I took care of it. I got an iron stomach apparently. So I remember during the time though, I got I got some false news from this nurse that was freaking me out too, and I was told that I had this like varices condition. I'm not going to go the whole thing, but it had to do with my esophagus and the liver, and the nurse said I might have 18 months to live, and I'm freaking out, but it was a misdiagnosis, or she just gave me the false information. So I had that going through my mind. Obviously this is 5 years later, so I'm still here, and for whatever reason, luckily. So I was very grateful for the love I received from my friends, man. You know, just I've received a lot of love and support from many different people over the years, and I'm truly grateful for that. You know, and I remember I got this book as a gift from my friend Alicia a couple months back called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I've read other of his books that I've quoted, like Voice of Knowledge and The Four Agreements. But The Mastery of Love, this defines the love I received from Jackie, Tony, and Danny during this 1 to 2 month period. Ruiz says this, he says, "The master lives within everyone. When you give food to the one who is starving, when you give to the one who is thirsty, when you cover the one who is cold, you give your love to the master." That's it. These guys helped me. They showed their love. They were inconvenienced, but they had faith, or they had compassion. They probably felt sorry for me at the same time. But I truly believe that if I was a real prick over the years, I wouldn't receive this kind of love. I think because of the way I've taken care of others over the years, this was God giving me back a blessing to help me get spared through these troubled times. On the other hand, A Course in Miracles reminds me of the behavior that I was displaying. The Course in Miracles tells me this about myself: all disease comes from a state of unforgiveness. I was not willing to forgive and let go. I suffered dearly. Greatly, I should say. Furthermore, The Course in Miracles says this: fear is not of the present, but only the past and future which do not exist. So I'm fearful of what's going on, coming up, and I wasn't thinking about what's going on ahead of me. Today, I'm able to pause, and I'm able to apply a certain principle based on the way I'm feeling. So whatever the negative emotion is, there's a positive, higher power that I can apply. And Course of Miracles is great too, man. So the other day I was sitting down with another alcoholic, and we were talking about prayer and meditation, and we were going through another book that this guy wrote. His name is Bob Anderson. It's called A Mind Power Disease, and we came across this. This is the chapter Growing Spiritually. It's on page 154. He says, I found out that the world wasn't hurting me. I was hurting the world. I was doing things that I thought were right because I thought the world was wrong. Some of us have a lot of justified resentments, and we have the right to be upset, but what do we do with them? God has a will for me, and I can pray to find out what that is and to receive the power to carry that out, carry out those principles of goodwill. So today I'm a character that is open-minded, that doesn't use defects that boomerang back on me, that is a giver, that develops the best possible relations with every human being, and that I have my mind corrected in the moment I'm in, for the most part, most of the time, not 100% of the time. Bob Anderson explains that, and that's how I feel. God will present opportunities that I could never see before. These opportunities are unlimited and endless. So me and Danny had an opportunity to reflect on old times and feel good as a result of the bad situation I was going on through. Now, in a bad situation like that, I wouldn't be able to recognize those things. Okay. I cannot even figure out what I need by myself. There are a lot of things I think I need. My relationship with my daughter, face to face. But generally, these things boomerang back at me. I could not maturely handle that relationship with her mother. God does not say I need these things. They are not what God says I need. They are what I think I need. I was always talking to myself, telling myself what I needed. I want her, I want this, I want that. Give me this, give me that. Every time I got what I thought I wanted, it didn't please me. Restless, irritable, discontented. My happiness could not be found in what I wanted. I was restless, irritable, and discontented. I wasn't connecting my needs to God or my conception of goodwill. So when I pray for strength in everyday situations, and usually things get better, you know, because I'm not making things worse. Again, I don't have a life beyond my wildest dreams, but I have a very fun life, a life a lot of people would like to have. So I learn more and more every day. So 2014 started off really bad, got a little bit better, and in the next episode you'll see how it got worse. I'm going to start talking about living homeless, because I didn't have a house very long. Alright, thanks for joining the Dan Banchero Show, only on YouTube. We'll see you next time, and for now, here's to feeling good all the time.